Welcome to the Infowars Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It's April 2nd, 2014, and we have some breaking news out of Fort Hood. KCEN-TV reports an active shooter at Fort Hood. We have reports of 1 dead, 8 injured in the shooting. The National Terror Alert Center put out this 2 days ago. FBI military hunt ex-Army recruit suspected in plotting Fort Hood-inspired jihad. Now, this is news out of Fox a couple days ago, and they said the gentleman known as Booker told his friends that he had intentions to commit jihad. And according to the article, Booker was also known as Muhammad Hassan, was recruited by the U.S. Army in Kansas City and was scheduled to report for basic training in April, but was discharged last week after law enforcement learned about his activities, his alleged activities to commit the jihad. And it says both the FBI and the 902nd Military Intelligence Group at Fort Leavenworth are involved in the hunt. But contrast that with the initial reports of the shooting. KCEN reported that it was a white male, likely in a combat uniform, carrying a .45 caliber handgun. So reports are contradictory at this point. We can't say for sure that this Hassan character is the person who carried out the alleged attacks, but it's definitely something to look at. And, you know, this guy is on the loose. They think he has reason to attack Fort Hood, and now Fort Hood has been attacked. So stay tuned to Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv as we give you more updates. Going on to some other news now. Reports EPA tested deadly pollutants on humans to push the Obama administration agenda. This isn't the first time we've talked about this. Infowars was telling you about it back in 2012. EPA sued over illegal experimentation on human subjects. And Alex Jones talked about this today on the Alex Jones Radio Show and was joined by David Knight on this very topic.
This is coming back into the news because they're trying to push this wood smoke regulation. This is something that's been going around for quite some time with the EPA. Actually, going back to September of 2011, we have a clip that I want to play in just a second here. This is EPA Administrator Lisa Jackson, and she goes before Congress, and it was already set up with Representative Markey that she's going to tell everybody just how dangerous these fine particulate matter is.
Let's go to that clip.
Yeah.
Cumulatively, what are the benefits of cleaning up particulate matter? Does that help or hurt our efforts to battle cancer, to battle the impact it has upon the health of people in our country?
Particulate matter or soot causes premature deaths. It doesn't make you sick. It's directly causal to dying sooner than you should. So the impacts of delaying efforts, cost-effective efforts, I might add, to address particulate matter are more people dying sooner than they should.
How would you compare it to the fight against cancer? Reducing particulate matter.
Yeah, I was briefed not long ago. If we could reduce particulate matter to healthy levels, it would have the same impact as finding a cure for cancer in our country.
Can you say that sentence one more time?
Yes, sir. If we could reduce particulate matter to levels that are healthy, we would have an identical impact.
They talk to us like we're two.
She's reading her talking points about cancer.
That's pretty good cumulative.
Meanwhile, they're putting cancer viruses in all the major vaccines on record.
You know, he starts this, he's already got her talking point set up where she's going to tell everybody that particulate matter is killing as many people as cancer. And he even mentioned that at the very beginning. He says cancer. And so then she repeats that claim. Now, at the same time she's giving this congressional testimony, the EPA in North Carolina, at the University of North Carolina, is hooking people up to diesel exhaust fumes out of a diesel truck. They got a pipe running in, they put them in a little closed room, and they put a mask over their face, and they're feeding them diesel fumes.
And they lie to them and tell them it's safe.
Exactly. Now, so that happened now in September of 2012. So that congressional testimony was 2011. At the time, they're exposing people to levels that the EPA has already said were fatal. They're 50 to 70 times, in some cases higher than that, levels of exposure to this that they've already determined were fatal.
Border Patrol terrorizes mom and kids with a knife and taser. You know, it's just how they do things now in the United States of America. While the Obama administration allows tens of thousands of violent illegal immigrants to go free in the United States without deportation every year, an American woman and her 2 children were terrorized by Border Patrol agents who threatened to taser her if she did not consent to a search of her vehicle before slashing her tires. And you can go to Infowars.com and hear the woman's testimony for herself. Basically, she is driving her car, 2 kids in the back, is pulled over by the Border Patrol agent. Miss, can you step out of your vehicle? Sir, why do you want me to step out of my vehicle? Miss, can you step out of your vehicle? Sir, Why do you need me to step out of my vehicle? At which point she says the officer produced a taser. Miss, do I need to tase you to get out of the vehicle? No, sir, you don't. Miss, do I need to take this knife and cut off your seatbelt to get you out of the vehicle? No, no, sir, you don't. At which point she left the vehicle, I wouldn't say under voluntary circumstances, but she felt it was the best thing for her safety and also that of her children. And just to make sure she was a good little slave from now on, they slashed her tires. And that's how they did, according to her own testimony. So you can go to Infowars.com and see how these, not only police officers, but now we have Border Patrol out here acting very badly. And I'm sure there are plenty of good Border Patrol agents out there, but this is definitely a black eye, and hopefully this will be addressed sooner than later. And something that needs to be addressed right now, the situation in Albuquerque. Because you remember last week, the week before, they unfortunately killed a homeless gentleman who was camping. You know, of all the deadly, horrible things you could do, a man camping needs a SWAT team to come remove him from a camping ground. They shot the man multiple times. He was attacked by a dog after they said they would allow the man just to walk free on his own, and also shot him close range with a beanbag gun. The man died from his injuries after that. Now we have a new shooting. Fury as U.S. Marshals shoot unarmed man, then confiscate cell phones of witnesses. And the local news reports that the Marshals were trying to apprehend a fugitive in a truck who had warrants out for charges of aggravated battery and child abuse. When the man attempted to get away from the Marshals, they opened fire, according to the county sheriff's report. But the witnesses have a very different account of the events of that day. They say that the man stepped out of his vehicle and was immediately shot by the Marshals, which to me would make more sense, because if you go to the video on Infowars.com, we won't show it because it has some graphic content in it. But if you go watch that video for yourself, you'll see that the man was shot right outside his door. So it looks like to me he may just stepped right outside of his door and was shot right there, because the officers, the Marshals, say that the man ran down the street, but he was shot right next to his vehicle. So I was like, well, he didn't run too fast or get too far for him to be taken off running like they said he did. And of course, they confiscate the footage like they did in the shooting in San Francisco, like they did at the Boston bombing. They love to confiscate your footage, and you may get it back, you may not. And that's the situation going on in Albuquerque. This stuff definitely needs to stop. And somebody said they want to put a stop to child abuse. So now they have this new law, this Cinderella law. And it said the new law could target parents who drink alcohol in front of their kids as child abusers. I know that sounds pretty ridiculous. Let's see what else it has to say. Under the new Cinderella law, denying love to children could be characterized as a crime under the same league as physical or sexual abuse. The definition of such abuse being solely in the hands of the state opens up a Pandora's box of potential behaviors that could warrant government interference in the family. And that's exactly right, because you recall that somebody was labeled an unfit parent because they wouldn't go give their child a Happy Meal. They said, son, you don't need all this GMO, high fructose crap. Let's eat some real food. No. So now after going to the shrink, the man's been labeled a child abuser, labeled an unfit parent. And that's what's going to happen here if they pass this Cinderella law. And right now it's being considered over there in the UK. But something like this could happen here, because you recall we had a guest on a few weeks ago on the Alex Jones radio show who had their child taken away because the parents were users or growers of marijuana. And they said, because somebody may break into your house because you have marijuana, we're going to take away your child right now. Not to mention the flimsy excuse that the state will decide what is abuse in your household. It's just another step to have Big Brother in your household, and I definitely suggest you do everything to keep Big Brother out. Supreme Court strikes down overall limit on campaign giving. So if you think the political system is corrupt right now as it is, you ain't seen nothing yet. Under the current limit, a donor can't give more than $123,000 to a candidate, party, or political action committee. Of that, $48,000 can go directly to candidates. That means that if someone wanted to give the maximum donation, he can only contribute to 9 candidates. But the kicker about this is it creates a loophole, which will allow individuals to contribute millions of dollars to a political party or to a candidate's campaign, Justice Breyer wrote. So that's exactly right. Because you recall in the last election cycle for president, they didn't want people such as Gary Johnson going to the political debates, even though he had an iota of the backing, an iota of the funding. So what do you have to be afraid of if you guys are all that, Republicans and you Democrats, you're all that, why are you scared of a guy like Gary Johnson? But now under this new system with these laws removed, now you can get all your candidates for your Democratic Party, to your Republican Party, whatever party, and you can get all you guys up and they all say, hey, we're going to go with candidate X. Let's pull our resources and give all the money, or at least most of the money, to candidate X for the big campaign push. Now you can do that with these current laws, with these laws being struck down. So if you didn't think the system was corrupt enough, You know, this is why you have to get involved at your local level, because yes, there is a lot of corruption at the top, but you can do things, you can affect change in your local communities. So that's where you need to run for office and really try to affect some change. And, you know, we're at the point now, things have changed. We do have the healthcare law now, and now Ms. Pelosi is saying Obamacare, it's what the founders would have wanted.
It's so heartwarming for those of us who work so hard so that many more people in our country would have access to affordable, quality health care. There are those who are critics and there have been bumps in the road, but they've only been turbulence. They have not been an obstacle to the American people having a healthier life. But our founders wanted for them life, healthier life, liberty, the freedom to pursue their happiness, not job locked.
And I love the guy in that video. She says, it's what the founders would have wanted. He's like, huh? What is she talking about? That's the same thing. I'm like, what are you talking about? The founders would want you to stop all that insider trading. That was CBS News, Ms. Pelosi. I'm sure you've seen the episode of 60 Minutes. And we'll end tonight with this. GM accused of playing Russian roulette with the driver's lives. Well, that's a very important issue. Survivors and families of victims of fatal road accidents connected to defective ignition switches in General Motors vehicles slammed the automaker Tuesday as lawmakers tried to piece together why it took the company more than a decade to issue recalls despite repeated red flags. Well, it seems pretty simple to me. It just seems like they didn't want to replace the parts. They didn't want the public outcry of having defective vehicles on the road, so they just let it slip, and now they're paying the piper for it. There you go, GM. Well, that's it for this segment of the Infowars Nightly News, but the show is far from over, because after this break, we'll have a special report from a true feminist, Leanne McAdoo. She's talking about some of the shenanigans going on at your major networks. And then also after that, I'll have my preview of X-Men Days of the Future Past. And you say, like, why would you spend time talking about a comic book? Well, if you go watch this movie or you see the trailer, a lot of the things that these guys wrote back in the 1980s as fictional police state measures are now real-life, true working things. And if you're skeptical of that, stick around and see that. It seems like these guys need to pay these comic book writers royalties. They need to pay Chris Claremont. They need to pay Alan Moore, who does Watchmen and V for Vendetta, because they were ripping off straight from the comic books. And we have something at the Infowars shop that's not a comic book. It's the new Infowars magazine. This month's edition is The War on Women. You can see the modern day Maryland. You know, I'm personally a fan of women who don't look like Chris Jericho and drag, but, you know, to each his own. You can get the Infowars magazine at the InfowarsShop.com. It funds our broadcast. And another thing that funds our broadcast is PrisonPlanet.tv. You can get yourself a 15-day free trial. You can get the Alex Jones Show, the rants, the nightly news, the special reports, all that on PrisonPlanet.tv. So stay tuned after this break for more special reports.
The facts are in. The studies are legion. Sodium fluoride and other toxic members of the fluoride family are devastating the health and cognitive ability of the American people. So why are the social engineers adding it to the water? Simple. Dumb down the host population that the parasitic technocracy is feeding on. We may not have been able to get fluoride out of the water supply yet, but we can help to get it out of our bodies. I am extremely excited to announce the exclusive Infowars Life Fluoride Shield formulation, fusing 6 of the best documented ingredients from around the world to help the body remove not just toxic fluoride residues from the body, but a whole host of toxic substances. Let's take a stand against the globalists by blocking their poisons with Fluoride Shield. I use Fluoride Shield every day. Secure your Fluoride Shield and other pioneering formulations at InfowarsLife.com today. Let's start cleansing our bodies now and support the InfoWar at the same time. That's InfowarsLife.com. Many anthropologists and archaeologists believe that before man even discovered the power to harness and use fire, we were involved in agrarian activities. That is, taking the seeds of plants and then replanting them to produce more. The very foundation of our modern civilization and human culture is centered around the planting and cultivation of edible plants.
Here are some of the amazing deals at Infowars Seed Center at InfowarsShop.com.
The Survival Seed Vault by My Patriot Supply features only the finest survival heirloom seeds for a robust and hardy garden, even in the toughest times. We also have starter varieties of the deluxe seed packages for fruit, salad, salsa, peppers, medical herbs, and more.
Go to the Infowars Seed Center at InfowarsShop.com.
And remember, the revolution against tyranny is growing.
Poor ratings may sink Ronan Farrow's new Daily Show on MSNBC. Ronan's show drew an average of 312,000 viewers last week. Pretty dismal for someone pegged to be a major TV personality. Now, it may just be that Ronan's anchored to a sinking ship. MSNBC is tanking overall, losing nearly a quarter of its primetime audience in 2013. And following a similar loss in 2012, MSNBC has the smallest audience since 2007. Perhaps Ronan's show is tanking because he was given a primetime show without much training. Kind of like another actor with poor job performance and dismal approval ratings. After his candidacy was endorsed by the departing senator in 1996, uncontested and inexperienced Barack Obama rose quickly through the ranks of the Illinois State Senate. He was then strangely given the keynote address at the 2004 Democratic National Convention, seen by 9.1 million viewers, even though he didn't have any experience as a U.S. senator.
Tonight is a particular honor for me because, let's face it, my presence on this stage is pretty unlikely.
4 years later, he was elected president of the United States of America. And then 9 months after the election, Obama was given the Nobel Peace Prize. But back to Ronan Farrow's manufactured celebrity. The theory was that Farrow would bring his 245,000 Twitter followers with him to television, but that hasn't happened. Perhaps it's because his Twitter followers are mostly fake spam bots. A quick check from Twitter audit shows that less than half of Ronan's followers are real. Maybe that's why they're not watching. 26-year-old Ronan Farrow, who, without ever hardly even having a paying job, was given his own primetime television show practically overnight. He graduated school at 15, he went to Yale Law School at 16, and then he became a Rhodes Scholar. Special Representative to Afghanistan and Pakistan Richard Holbrooke appointed a then 21-year-old Farrow as NGO liaison working in Pakistan. Humanitarian officials, taken aback by the appointment at the time, said, "You have seasoned, experienced NGO officials dealing with some very sensitive foreign policy and humanitarian aid issues whose main contact in Holbrooke's office is a 21-year-old whose experience has been traveling to southern Sudan with his mom." Ronan was also appointed Hillary Clinton's special advisor for global youth issues. Farrow's appointment and the creation of the office were announced by Clinton as part of a refocusing on youth following the Arab Spring revolutions. And with that, Obama administration insider Ronan Farrow's orchestrated rollout commenced. He became the youngest host on MSNBC with his own daytime show. And much like Obama's puzzling Peace Prize, Farrow was awarded an Excellence in Journalism Award a mere 48 hours after he became a journalist. So is Ronan Farrow just an overachieving boy genius or a well-positioned puppet? As The Guardian points out, the discussion of Ronan Farrow as future presidential material, a prominent theme in the New York Times profile of the star, makes him seem like a new sort of Manchurian candidate, which is interesting since the star of that movie, Frank Sinatra, is rumored to be Farrow's father.
Rallying a nation of television viewers into hysteria to sweep us up into the White House with powers that will make martial law seem like anarchy.
And you thought he was just Rosemary's Baby. As predicted in Obama deception in 2009, these Manchurian candidates' sole responsibility is to sell the public on the globalist agenda.
They're called Generation O, and they were the key to Barack Obama's White House win.
During the campaign, Barack Obama used the internet like no other candidate before him, harnessing the energy of millions of his supporters. But the question now is, what to do with this young, eager, energetic army?
Oh my God! This is the best day of my life! It was the scope of Obama's victory that was most impressive.
In summation, Barack Obama is a Madison Avenue created fad. All of the crazed Obama worship, being pushed by the corporate media, is scientifically designed to capture the public in a net of peer pressure mass euphoria. If the New World Order can just distract the public for a few more years, the elite can finish constructing their police state control grid.
And now the globalist left is laying the foundation for yet another manufactured Madison Avenue creation. He's primed for political office. He can read from a teleprompter, and he is ready to take the globalist agenda to the next signpost whenever he's called into the political spotlight.
Celebrate the spirit of freedom and liberty upon which our nation was founded at InfowarsShop.com. Molon Lave is ancient Greek for come and take it. This popular design combines both classic Greek Spartan imagery with modern M16 assault rifles. Now available in women's tees and proudly made in the USA. And now you can protect yourself from corrupt cops with the Infowars dash cam. It's your car's black box that records all that the driver sees and hears. And introducing the Block It Pocket. It renders your phone undetectable while protecting your private data and your health. Or take back your privacy and protect your personal information by getting your very own Detractor cell phone pouch. So get incredibly high-quality, freedom-based products and help fund the revolution at InfowarsShop.com.
The globalist social engineers are not just targeting us with propaganda. They are manipulating our genetics. We are being targeted at every level by estrogen mimickers that lower our testosterone and other hormones and natural compounds that the body needs. The key is to be aware of this attack and to fight back against it. After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO organic super male vitality formula sourced from powerful organic herbs harvested around the planet and then concentrated for maximum potency. I've always believed in nutrition and herbs. Super Male Vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes instead of using synthetic chemicals. Super Male Vitality by Infowars Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose. Visit InfowarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality and other powerful products from Infowars Life.
X-Men: Days of Future Past is set to hit theaters soon. The interesting thing about this story is that it was written back in the 1980s and set in 2013. Now in 2014, we see that many of the police state measures, which were fictional at the time of the writing, are pretty relevant now. Let's start with a look at the film's teaser trailer.
What have you been doing for the past 50 years? Do you feel safer? More secure? Nothing worth fighting for more than your future. At Trask Industries, we're solving tomorrow's problems today.
Did you catch the camera in the boy's room? Back in 2009, it was reported that the UK was prepared to spend $700 million outfitting the inside of homes with security cameras for the children, of course. Also in the clip, the Sentinel, the robotic policeman of the future made by Trask Industries. The real-life counterpart to Trask would be DARPA. DARPA, which has many advanced technology projects, also makes humanoid walking robots just like the Sentinels, not to mention police departments deploying their own weaponized drones.
Deputies can fly this 50-pound Shadowhawk unmanned helicopter. A powerful camera on the front is controlled with this game-like console, and the manufacturer says this one's even designed to carry weapons.
You'd have a stun baton where you can actually engage somebody at altitude with the aircraft, and a stun baton would essentially disable a suspect.
And as we move into spoiler territory, what's the reason for the sci-fi police state in the first place?
She's one of them, Martha. She needs help.
But how could you register her with that mutant control agency as if she were some sort of criminal?
The agency isn't a prison, Martha. It's an outreach program to help these unfortunate people.
And if you don't voluntarily give up your children, there's always somebody willing to come and take them from you.
Godboldo's ordeal began last Thursday at her home here on Blaine when Child Protective Services came to take custody of her 13-year-old daughter, accusing Godboldo of not giving her medication for a mental condition. Godboldo would not give up the child. Police were called, broke down her door, and that's when officers say Godboldo shot at them. A standoff ensued.
She didn't open fire.
They're supposed to register their mutant powers because of a mutant-related incident where some try to use their powers to kill a U.S. senator. So because some use their powers for bad, now all mutants are collectively guilty until proven innocent. Does that remind you of the gun laws in this country? And that's to say nothing of the people who make the legislation, the people who say that you need to be disarmed, the people who say that you need to be registered, are steadily beefing up their own personal arsenals.
But I also believe that a lot of gun owners would agree that AK-47s belong in the hands of soldiers, not in the hands of criminals. I have two words for you: predator drones. You will never see it coming. Yeah, we're all parents, but they're all our children. This is our first task: caring for our children. It's our first job. If we don't get that right, we don't get anything right. That's how, as a society, we will be judged. And by that measure, can we truly say, as a nation, that we're meeting our obligations? Can we honestly say that we're doing enough to keep our children, all of them, safe from harm?
Not only do they want to jail mutants because of their abilities, but also because the powers that be want to cleanse the gene pool, much like the real-life eugenics movement.
Why do you hate us? What did we ever do to you?
You were born.
We are paying for and even submitting to the dictates of an ever-increasing, unceasingly spawning class of human beings who never should have been born at all. Margaret Sanger, 1922.
And for those who say that it can't happen here, that they would never forcefully take somebody out of their communities, how soon you forget the Japanese internment camps, how soon you forget the Native American Trail of Tears. They have gone door to door taking people away from their families. They have gone door to door confiscating weapons, i.e. mutant powers.
Police department! The police and National Guard going street by street, house to house.
We need to make sure, too, that whenever we knock on the doors, people refuse to leave. We need to make note, call it in.
They say there are no orders to use force, just strong persuasion, sometimes entering open houses with guns drawn, and instructions to disarm anyone inside.
While we live in a world free of mutants, we do not live in a world free of the police state trappings of a comic book from the 1980s. That should tell you something about our society. And for those of you searching for a true spoiler, I'm pretty sure Storm dies in this movie because in the comic book she dies by being stabbed by a sentinel, and if the trailer is any indication, the same thing's going to happen in the film. Keep watching Infowars for the crew review of Captain America Winter Soldier, and as always, you can find more reports on Infowars.com. Well, that's it for this edition of the Infowars Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson, and we'll see you again tomorrow night.
Introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gates, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. Get your Pro Pure with the new Pro One filter today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139.
You are watching the Infowars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. Members can share their passcodes with up to 11 other people, and your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.